Hi, Rob here from Way Out West. I am back after a bit of hiatus. The next gig at the club will be Sunday, May 25th, where we feature the St Kilda based band Bag of Nails. I recently had a chat with Trevor Murray, who gave me a good insight into the band. If you like your blues from Chicago, you're gonna love this power trio. Sit back and enjoy the video, and please hit the like and subscribe button. But can you tell me when the band formed and who else is in the band, Bag of
Yeah, sure.
Nails?
So I formed the band in 2004. So we've been going 21 years now, which is really cool. And currently we've got John Hampton on bass and Chaos, who's a bit of a St Kilda legend on the drums.
Yeah.
And actually John's been with me since about 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
And Chaos, he joined in 2021, I think, something like that. So more recently, but yeah, been around a
Sensa-
while.
Sensational name for a drummer.
Chaos, yeah, right. He reminds me of Animal from
Yeah, that's what I was
yeah,
thinking.
right, from the Muppets. Yeah, no, he's been around long. He played with bands like Hoss and a few others, and he's done a lot of stuff around Melbourne
Yeah.
and
And
other
and
cities.
where did the band name come from, Bag of Nails? It's a great name.
Yeah, no, bagging up. So it's interesting. When I was a teenager, I was reading a lot of biographies about guys I was interested in. So the Beatles, John Lennon, Hendrix, and Rolling Stones, and the Who, and all that sort of stuff. And what was really frequent was the Bag and Nails Club in Soho in London in the 60s. And basically, all the greats visited there. They hung out. Jimi Hendrix, the first gig he played in London was at the Bag and Nails Club in Soho. And apparently that was, Jeff Beck, Clapton were there to see it, and they're pretty blown away. Paul McCartney met Linda McCartney at the Bag and Nails Club for the very first time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was where they all hung out, Page, all those guys. It was just the place to be.
Yeah,
And
interesting. Is that
yeah,
where
yeah.
Clapton and Jeff Beck or whoever it was said, seen Hendrix and said, "Oh, we might as well stop playing."
Yeah, apparently, yeah. So I think the story goes is Clapton was walking into the Bag and Nails and Jeff Beck was walking out. And Clapton looked at him and said, oh, that bad, is it? And Jeff's going, no, that good. You couldn't watch anymore, apparently. Which is
And
fair
so, how
enough.
about yourself? When did you pick up the guitar, mate? And do you have some favorite guitarists yourself?
Yeah, I do. I was a little bit late picking it up. I probably was about 15 or so when I first picked it up, but I probably didn't really attack it in anger until I was about 17, 18. I dagged around with it for a bit. So talking about favorite guitarist, definitely, I was a huge early Clapton Blues Breaker fan, like, the Beano album, I think like so many people. And that led also to Peter Green, of course, early Fleetwood Mac. They were definitely my early influences, that British blues sort of style. And then from there, I sort of moved in, discovered people like, obviously went back and did what a lot of people go, oh, where'd they go? So, Robert Johnson and all that sort of stuff. But then I went and looked at guys like Roy Buchanan. I'm a huge Roy Buchanan fan. His stuff's incredible. And then sort of more recently, I got into Jeff Healey, massive Jeff Healey fan. So, and then obviously, leading on from the British stuff, Gary Moore was a massive influence of mine. And he's more of an influence my later years rather than my earlier years, I guess go through that process of discovering guitarists and eventually start getting to those guys as well.
Now, you showed me the poster before. So,
Mm.
how did that tribute to Gary Moore come about? Because, boy, what an incredible guitarist. But he was rock, he was blues, he was anything he wanted to be.
Yeah, pretty phenomenal, wasn't he? He was able to do pretty much whatever he wanted. Um, we was doing a lot of the handful of stuff that Gary did off the Blues for Greenie album. And I was a big fan of the album. It's great. So we were already playing some of that blues, Peter Green, Gary Moore stuff, and And then we just sort of came up with the idea, hey, wouldn't it be great if we were able to pull together a Gary Moore Blues? So it was for the Cherry Blue Sundays that Max Crawdaddy was hosting in those days back in ACDC Lane. So we thought, oh, let's do a Blues Sunday session, but dedicated to Gary Moore. So, Blues for Gary type of thing. So, and that was it. So it was mostly, we predominantly, it was pretty much all Gary's blues stuff, not going back into his rock or his sort of, jazz fusion.
Yeah. And he was pretty, well, not a lot, but he did a fair bit of work with Thin Lizzy too, from memory.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, he does. Yeah, we do a bit of a mix. Gary Moore, Thin Lizzy, something similar to what Gary does on stage with what's don't believe a word. That's the track. So yeah, and more recently, sort of a bit of pushing walkways and things like that. So and some of the other stuff.
I'm glad you mentioned Roy Buchanan because or he was so damn good, but
Yeah,
he's sort of forgotten. A lot of people don't know much about him. Can you fill us in on Roy? And he died quite tragically too, I
yeah,
thought.
he was a bit of an alcoholic, from
Yeah,
what I hear. Yeah,
nothing
it was
wrong with that.
tragic. Pardon?
Nothing wrong with that.
No, no, that's right. Nothing wrong with the beer. Yeah, absolutely. I reckon the first track I ever heard of Roy was his version of Hey Joe. And that blew me away because until then I just really didn't think anyone could do it justice apart from obviously Hendrix. And then I heard his version, I just thought, wow, that's such a different take. And the aggression is nuts, right? So it's a crazy, crazy version. If your listeners haven't heard it, right, it's definitely worth discovering. And then that took me down that rabbit hole of Roy, and went through picked up his back catalogue, and probably my favorite album is Livestock,
Mhm.
recorded live in New York. That his Roy's Blues on that and Evil, those two tracks, they're amazing. Just his unique touch, I reckon, is obviously the way he attacked the guitar, but also he had a lot of country influence to him as well as Nashville and country stuff, and that sort of that shows and that comes through in his playing. So it gives it a real depth and just uniqueness to it, I think. So it's not just straight out sort of blues. So that's pretty cool. And I know he plays a telly, and I've never owned a telly, actually, never really played one. So I was pretty excited to get hold of the album Dancing on the Edge, which he plays a Les Paul, the whole album. And that's a lot. And he still manages to get that brutal attack that he gets at his telly out of the Les Paul as well. So it doesn't seem to matter what he's playing, I think.
That was going to be my next question.
Ah.
What's your favorite guitar on stage?
Yeah,
I guess it
I
must
can
be
tell you, I can
Les
show you. So
Paul.
this one, here we go. This one here is it's probably my number one. It's
Yeah,
Les Paul 59 VOS reissue. I bought in LA in 2012
yeah.
when I was going to Vegas for John's birthday, my bass player's birthday. We were heading over there, and I went and played about 10 or 12 different Les Pauls, and ended up picking this one.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's definitely my main one at the moment.
yeah.
Um, I do have another 59 reissue, and I've also, my first Les Paul was a 1974 custom, which I've still got. And I used that primarily up until probably 2012.
Yep.
And I bought that when I was 21. And in fact, I had recently had it tattooed on my arm. So that's actually photos of my 74 custom.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
There's
so
some,
I just love playing it. It just weighs a ton.
yeah.
It's, those 70s pancake body Norland era. Now, it sounds great, but it weighs over 10 pound. And after, when you do 3 sets, getting old, it's like, oh, it's just a bit heavy, right? So the reissues tend to be a bit lighter these days.
Now, I was reading also that you've done some playing in Europe and the US. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. I had a couple of stints in the US, and I lived in San Francisco for 12 months. And so I formed a little trio while I was over there, and we used to play at a venue called Skip's Tavern in Bernal Heights in San Francisco, if you even know that one. There's a bit of a dive bar. So that was pretty cool. Just playing there with local guys. And another time, actually, I did pick up a Strat back when I was in New York in '95. And I bought a Strat at Manny's music store, the famous one. It's not there anymore.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but it's where Hendrix and Clapton shopped everywhere else, right? And when I was in New York in '95, and I thought I had to go there, and I had to buy a guitar, and I had the Les Paul at that point in time, so I thought, oh, I better get a Strat. So I did. I picked that up, and when I was touring through the states, because I had that with me, I was able to get up on stage and play with a few guys. And the most memorable one was at the Margaritaville in New Orleans.
Ah,
Yeah, I
I've
jumped
been
up.
there.
And, yeah, it was. Yeah, it's very cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's in
it's
that
not
square.
there
Is it Jackson
anymore.
Square? I think it is.
It's not there anymore. It's
Oh, isn't it?
no, no. I think
That's a shame.
it became BB King's Club, and I haven't been back there for a couple of years. But
Yeah, right.
yeah,
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 it's been a while since I've been in New Orleans, but yeah, so I got up on stage and I did a few numbers with the band there. That was pretty cool.
yeah,
Yeah, and London, I lived a couple of times in London. I did very similar, formed a band, trio and just
yeah,
local, and was just playing around London for a while
yeah.
while I was living there. So, and did a lot of busking on the Thames back in the day too.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. If I got as much money as tourists wanted photos of me, I would have been rich. Especially Germans, they loved it. They'd come up and they want to get photos, and then they'd nick off, and they wouldn't even give me any cash.
Yeah, bastards.
Yeah, I know, right?
And it seems like you do favour the trio format then.
Yeah, although having said that, when I first started Bag and Nails, or was forming it in 2004, I was actually it was a four piece, and I was ideally having one of the female lead vocalists.
Mhm.
I thought that'd be great for a real strong sort of rocky lead vocalist for that, but it was difficult to find. Couldn't really pin that down. And then I got a couple of guys in as well in the early days, up until about 2006 or so. And then in the end, yeah, I don't know, at the end, it just became a bit too much hard work with having the four of us. Few troubles here and there with some lead singers. Won't mention any names. So I thought, oh, stuff it, I'll do it myself. And by then, I was actually already picked up a few numbers vocally anyway. So I thought, oh, I'll just do it. So that sort of happened.
And do you live around the St Kilda area?
I do, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Been living in St Kilda now for the last 3.5 years.
yeah. I see you guys play around that area quite a bit. Have you got some favourite venues over there?
Yeah, look, Dogs Bar's great. Dogs
Mm,
really cool. They're very consistent for music.
mm,
The Vineyard's also cool. They're sort of starting to have music back on the Friday night
mm,
there. St Kilda's taken a bit of a downward turn a little bit since we've arrived 3 or so years ago. We've noticed a few venues
mm.
sort of stopping. It used to be used to play a lot at the Ludo, I think it is. Yeah, it used to be the Ludo Bar, which is now Jekyll and Hyde's, but they don't do music so much anymore.
Yeah,
And Johnny's is a great venue.
yeah,
Tiny, right? Really small, but it's a lot of fun. Great locals, and Mark, yeah, Mark runs a great show there. So
yeah. The Dogs Bar is an institution, isn't
yeah,
it?
it is right. I remember going there like literally 30 odd years ago. Yeah, well, my sister used to live in St Kilda back then, and I stayed with her for a little while, and she actually worked there for a bit. And we go there. We were there most nights, and it hasn't changed.
No.
In fact, we're playing there this Saturday night.
Oh, cool. What time do
Yeah,
you start?
8,
Eight
8 o'clock.
o'clock. All right.
Yeah.
And do you still teach guitar?
I do. I
Yeah,
do. Yep. I've got a handful of students.
yeah,
So yeah, a mix from I've got some guys that want to do more songwriting, and then others that just want to do pure sort of lead blues rock guitar stuff. So right up my alley either way.
yeah. Good. And do you do that from home in your
Yeah,
studio?
I do that. Yeah, I do that from the studio where I am at the moment.
Yeah,
So it's self-contained studio. My apartment's upstairs and the studio is downstairs. So
yeah. And how would you describe a Bag of Nails set? What sort, where do you go with it?
yeah. Yeah,
Originals
it's
and
interesting.
covers?
When I formed the band, I had a sound in mind, and it was actually the sound I had in mind was based on an album that I love, which was Paul Rogers' Muddy Waters tribute album,
Mm,
and because that came out in the I think early mid '90s.
yeah,
And I don't know if some of your listeners aren't familiar with it. It's obviously Paul Rogers doing covers of Muddy Water songs, but he's invited all these amazing guitarists, some of them really, quite rock, Slash, Richie Sambora,
mm,
to Jeff Beck,
mm,
Brian May, Dave Gilmore, you name it, Trevor Rabin. So there's all these cool, Gary Moore as well, cool guitarists, really sort of beefing and rocking up these classic blues tracks.
mm.
And I've got to say, Jeff Beck's version of Rolling Stone on that is just superb. His solo is just gorgeous, you know.
Mm.
Anyway, so that was, I heard that album and I thought, that's what I want to play. That's the blues I want to play.
Yeah.
So it's quite aggressive. It's rocky, you know, still in the blues format, but it's got a different sort of rockier edge to it, if
Mm.
that's a
Yeah.
better way of describing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's Bag of Nails in a nutshell, right?
Yeah. That dirty ass blues.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
indeed, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, over the years, we've sort of, you know, you've got to appeal to the audience as well. And some audiences like the pure blues stuff, and others want to hear a bit more classic. So,
Mm.
you know, we've evolved over the years, and you know, now we will throw in a few free numbers. Obviously, I'm a big, certainly big Paul Rogers fan. Bit of free, bit of cream, a little bit of Hendrix here and then, a
Yeah.
lot. Given
Yeah.
I'm playing a Les Paul, a couple of Les
Yeah.
Pauls, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's certainly very rocky.
Yeah. And did Bag of Nails have any albums out, or is there any
We've
recordings
got
in it?
we had an EP. We did an EP back in 2010,
Yeah.
mostly original EP, which is out. And following that, we did a couple of years later, I think we released a live album, which was recorded at St Andrews, so and nailed live at St Andrews Hotel,
Yeah.
which actually we're playing there this Sunday,
All right.
funnily enough.
Was that still with Rob Harwood? Is he still?
It was with Rob Harwood. Yeah, we had the pleasure of recording. Yeah, we recorded 3 shows with Rob,
Yeah.
and then out of that, we pulled together a live album
Yeah.
and released that as well. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It got a lot of circulation and a lot of airplay. Still does. And they're on Spotify too as well at the
Oh, okay.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can access those. A bit. It's been few and far between releases, I got to say, probably too long, but we are working on one now.
Mm.
So we're in the process of writing some new stuff, and we're actually pretty excited. We're gonna debut some of that stuff at the Way Out West.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
indeed.
I
So
just go back to Rob Harwood. What a gentleman, and his
yeah,
knowledge of engineering is incredible.
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's worked with the greats, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I know he's had a long history with Jeff Atchison
Yeah.
and yeah, Roderick and those sorts of guys. So yeah, very cool. Really nice man.
Yeah.
Yeah, knows his stuff.
So that's about all I've got, Trev. What I'm
Okay.
going to do is put this together, and we've talked about different things. So I'll put some photos in. I'll send you the link, and
Yeah,
we
cool.
really are looking forward to see you on Sunday, the 25th of May. I'm sorry it's taken so long to get you there. I was just talking to another band today. We're already booked up for the rest of the year.
Yeah, wow.
It's out of control.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. You know,
Yeah.
it's a great club, great organization you got there, and has a great venue, right? It's a good show. So
Yeah.
it's an absolute honor. I was pretty stoked when we got the gig, I got to say.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going
No,
to
it's
be,
going
I
to
think, a real highlight this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a ripper, mate. And so thanks for taking the time to have a chat.
Yeah, no
Uh,
worries.
and yeah, we'll see you shortly. And
You will.
hope you have a great couple of gigs on the weekend.
Yeah, we've got another one on Friday night, actually. It's a
Well,
busy weekend.
are,
Yeah,
you-
but
so are you
yeah,
doing music full time or?
yes, I
Oh,
am.
well, no, that's
Yeah,
great.
Beneath Driver Lane is Friday night.
Oh, that's a beautiful venue too.
Yeah, it's a great spot. We haven't been
Yeah.
there for a while, so looking forward to that. Yeah, so busy weekend, which is awesome.
What time do you
Busy
kick
day.
off Friday?
Friday, so we've got Oscar Liddell playing a set
Oh, I love
solo.
Oscar. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's playing from 9 till 9:45.
Yeah.
And then we go on at basically, I think, 10:15
Okay.
and
All
play two
right.
sets till 12.
Yeah, enjoy that. Say good day to Oscar. He's a nice
Yeah, I
man.
will actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I've only
And
just recently met him.